Alright, so obviously not perfect, but pretty close to all the parts from Jimi Hendrix's Purple Haze from the first album, Are You Experienced? So let's take a look at this first bit here. We got the B flat note. So the 6th fret of the big E string down to its octave on the 8th fret of the D string. You got 4 times back and forth with that. Now if you wanted to, you could make it a little trickier. You could do the 6 and the 7 on these 2 big strings, down to the 7 and 8 on the D and the G. I believe that's the chord they're getting because I think the bass is going like while Jimmy's going, and it creates that chord. Okay, so that's another way to do that little quick intro. So here goes our first riff to get it going after that little intro bit. So we're gonna have, so we're using our ring finger to slide up to the 9th fret on the D string. You could start at the 7 or you could start somewhere a little bit beyond that, just as long as you get to the 9. Going to the 7 on the G string, to the 8 on the little B string, with a slight bend on that one. So 9, 7, 8, and then 7 on the D string, that A note. So we got 9, 7, 8 with a little bend to the other 7. And then on that D string, we're going 5, and then 5 on the A, and then big one open. Sliding from 5 to 7 on the A, so we got. And then we're gonna come. So we're sliding the ring finger from 5 to 7 on the A, to the 5 on the G, to the 7, to the 9, to the 5. And then we're going 5, 5, to the big 3. So let's look at all that. And there's one of those slides in between these things too. Now our last part of these 4 is going to be the open A string to start. Then going to slide back into those things. And we got a little hammer on that one this time. And then. Okay, so we got. So let's look at that whole intro one more time. Our chord here is this E7 sharp 9. So open we can do because it's an E, 7, 6, 7, and 8, and mute the bottom string. That's the Jimi Hendrix chord, basically. Now we're going to do a G chord down here, but he doesn't do those bar chords. He does a thumb back here. Mute the A string, the 5th string, and get this 5, 4, 3 from a G chord down here. Don't need the bottom string either. We just need these 3. Now we're going to bring in a pinky riff here on the 2nd fret, 5th string. So we got. So it's actually on the A. We're going to go up to the G to the A, and then the A is going to have that little 6th fret thing. So da 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 dee da da. And then you hit the E string and nothing else, and stop that, make it staccato. Then we're gonna have this octave sliding thing. We're gonna slide the E octave, which is 7th fret of the A string, 9th fret of the G string. So we go up to the 9, back to the 7, to the 5. And we hit that riff twice more. So at the end of this thing, we got this open E, and then the sliding octaves. Got that riff twice, and we're back to a new verse. And then I got this off one of his live records. So he does a riff there. So he's doing like the raised 9 equivalents for those G. So the G would be like the G bass and these 6s on the bottom. And the A would be the 5th fret and the 8s on the bottom. And the riff is. So it'd be like. And so after the 2nd verse, set of 3, 3 passes through that riff. We do that 2 more times again. Then we're going to move that up, sliding into the 11, and then the 9, and then bending this 12 on the B string. So we got this one twice. And then we got the 11, 9, and 12. Same 3 strings. And then we're going to have this. So we're going to go 14 and 12, but then we're going to jump to the smallest string and just hit that 15 and give it some vibrato. Okay, so those 3 little bits in a row. So after we had that up to this 15 the 2nd time, you're gonna hit that little 12 and then get into this. So that's that 14th fret of the G string bending up into the 15th fret of the B string. Kind of twice on that, and then like 3 times as a chord. So we got. And then the solo starts. So that's 16 to 18, hammer on, 3 times. And then we slide the 16 down to the 14. So that's gonna go 14, 16, 14, 13. Back to the 14. So we got. So 14 to 16 and a slide down after that. So that one slides 12 to 14 on the D. 12, 14, 12, and 11. So we got. So that was 11, 12, 11. 14, 12 on the D. So kind of the same thing there. So that was sliding into the 14 from the 12 on the A string to 12 here on the D, 14 up to 16. We got the hammer-on pull-off there. So that was 12, 14, up to 16, back to 12. And then we're gonna go 16 and 12. So 3 times back and forth. So that's a rake up from the bottom. 12, 12, 12, 12 to this 14 on the D. And then 11, 12 on the G. And then here we have this 14, hammer-on pull-off to the 12. So we got, gonna go to the 15 and back after that. Hammer-on pull-offs, 14, 15 on a B string. We're gonna end with that kind of 14, 15 bend again. So let me check it out. Kind of a back to this. So that one was a little different. And that one you might want to bend down because you're bending so high on that one, and it's above the half mark, you know. So you're just kind of working that 7th fret of the D string. See how it's kind of bends down? Or you could go up. And on that G down there, that big 3. And then goes back to that. And ends on that one. So it kind of reverses its order a little bit with that 3rd one. And goes back to the 1st one. And then last verse. So we hit this twice. And then the bass brings in a new chord, and we wait a second, we go. So we leave a little space in between that one. So we wait a second, and then we go the 14, 12, and the little 15. We wait a second. And then this last little riff. So we got 12, 14, 15 on the 2nd string. Little hammer-on pull-off. Kind of bend that 14, and then immediately we're hitting this little 12 and bending that 15. It's a unison bend. And it just keeps doing that for the whole fade out, and it's kind of varying stages of hitting the note right and then letting it go down too low and even making it go too high towards the... This will sound really crazy and psychedelic. Okay, so Purple Haze. Let's see the intro one more time. So we got... So we know how that goes, and then we're gonna have the, let's say we're going into the solo. then going into the end of the song. Okay, so this is a lesson on Foxy Lady by JIMI Hendrix. The very first thing is you're on the 11th fret, and it kind of swells up, so he's kind of like making that noise, and he brings his volume knob up, and he's got that tube amp, it starts distorting, and when he feels like he's got a good tone on that distortion, he goes, either like from the, we're in F sharp, so it might be like the 14th fret. That'd be the note of the octave of the key you're in. So once again, it's like 11th fret, wide vibrato. You bring in that volume knob. You got your tube amp, starting to feedback a little bit. Now what we have here is a F, kind of a raised 9, F7 raised 9 chord, but it's different than this normal one. It's going to be this 2 down here with these little 5s on the bottom. Those little 5s are these top ones. The 9 and the 10 up here on this F7, F sharp 7 raised 9. So we got the big 2 twice. We got that little chord. And then we have the octave of that F sharp. So that's the 4th fret of the D string. Kind of like an A bass note. It's basically like goes to a B chord here, 2, 4, 4, 4. So you got. And then we're gonna have a little. So that's 2 on the D string, 4 in the A string, 2 on the E string. Back to that chord. So we got. So that was a walking thing there. We got the big 5, and 2, 3, and 4. So once again from the beginning, we'd have, do that for a while, get your sound going. And then he starts singing. Second part. And then Hendrix didn't do those major chords like this, so he did the thumb up here. So you got to mute the A string, but you got the 4, 3, and 2, and the D, G, and B strings. You got that 2 up here in the bass. Down to an E major chord. So. When you do little riffs, there could be different fills and things in there. He did a lot of different things, especially live. He'd mix it up a lot. But the place he would go to would be this, getting into like 4 to 6 on the A string, to that D string 4. Sometimes using that 6 on little riffs there. And then he'd end it like that, ending on that F sharp there. And then the first time you go. So that's the 16th fret of the G string. Bend it up, quick staccato, to the 14th fret of the G string. So the second time, so first time, and then he'll bend that 16 again, then hit the 14 on the second string. Come back to the G string and with a slight bend. Back back to that 16th fret of the D string, slide down. So you got. Then we're back to another verse. Chorus. So this is the start of the solo. So here you could kind of slide up to this 18 and hit that 14, or you can kind of bend the 16. We're going to end with the 16th fret of the D string, slide it down, and then the solo is going to start. Okay, so that one thing again. So we got so that kind of makes a cooler effect if you can kind of slide near that 18. So our first thing here is this 17th fret, second string. We're going to bend that up, a little vibrato, and then kind of bend it down. Then we're going to the 14 of the G string. So we got. So this little part is kind of like an 8 to 9 to the 11. And this one you could slide down on the D string, either like 11 to 9 to 7, or you could do the half step. Or I don't think it's really an up and down bend though, so it's like. And then you got, so that was sliding up to the 11 on the D string, 9 on the G, and then 11 here. And that's kind of like going a step and a half there, kind of in between. So we got. So that was a pull off to the D string and back. So this riff is going to be 16th fret of the G string, bending up, and then you got 14 and 14, bending that 17 of the B string again, and then you got 14, 17, 14. So we have that bend on the G string 16 again, to 14 on the B, but then we're going to hit the small string 17. This is a tricky riff here. 14, 17, 14, 16, 14, pull off, and then 14 to the B string. So at that point you get into a 16, 14, 17. So that's going to take us to kind of the last section of the solo. So let's go over it again. We got. So it's like 2 or 3 of those, and you're gonna end up bending that note up. So it could be 2 or 3. It could be like, how much time do you feel like you have to pull this off, you know? And then this last riff. So I'm going to do a pull off here after this little string, then do the bending thing, and then I'm going to do a riff here, da-da-da-dum, 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 that kind of a thing. So once again, the solo we got. Then we're back to the chorus. Slide that thing again. Now at the end of the song, you're getting to this B chord to A chord. Eventually hits the B and holds it. All right, so we got a fun one for you today. We got Manic Depression by JIMI Hendrix. Starting off, this one is detuned to half step. It's just one of those ones. Some of the ones from the first album, he's in standard tuning, and some he's detuned. So this is one of the ones that he is detuned. Something interesting about this tune is that it's in 3. So usually there's 4 beats in a rock tune, right? This one has 3. You can feel that 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. So a strong presence of 3 all the way through this tune. So everything's a little bit different. It feels a little different. That's why that kind of... That's why that one part sounds so tricky. It's because it's fitting within that 3 type of a measure, you know, sets of 3 notes. First thing is 5, 6, 7 on the A string. That's like those 3 beats of the first measure. And then you wait 3 beats, and then you hit. So you come down to the D string. So it's A string 5, 6, 7, then D string 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3. Wait, wait, wait. 1, 2, 3. And right then, we don't wait again that time. We're gonna do the. That's an A string open and a 7, 5, 7, 5 on the D string. We're gonna do that 4 times. Then we get into the verse. So the verse is going to be A string open. Take that ring finger. As you do a lot of times, you use that ring finger if you're going to end up with a spot where you need that first finger over here because they fit good that way. So we got A sliding from the B to the C sharp on the 5th string down to the 2nd fret D string, E note. Then we're going to go to the G up here. Same type of thing off the G. So G and then the 5 to 7 on the E string down to the 5th fret of the A string. So we got A, G. So after we did the G, coming back to that 7th fret E string and then going 5, 6, 7 again on the A. So all together we got rest, rest, rest. Main riff, 4 times. Verse, A, G, and 5, 6, 7, back to the main riff. 4 times. Verse again, A, G. Now instead of just doing that 4 times leading into what's going to be the big string E coming in, we're going to do one of those slides down. So we're going to do like 3 of these, 3 and a little bit more maybe of that riff. 2, 3, and So kind of at the end there, we're going to do that slide. So we got. So we're going to have the E with that same type of riff. To the G again. We're going to end on that 5. So when we do that, we're going to go 3, 5, 3, 5, 2, 3, 2, 3, 2, 3, 2. So once you hit the 3 on that, think of it as like 3 sets of 3, because we're going to go 3, 2, 3, 2, 3, 2, and then we're going to go to the bigger string. 3, 2, 3, 2, 3, 2, 3, 2. There's 4 sets of it down there. So from the E, it'd be like G, 5, 3, 5, 3, 5, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3. So we go back to the A there. G, 5, 6, 7, pause. Lower 5, 6, 7. And the second verse starts. So let's look at all what we got so far. So the beginning we had 5, 6, 7 and a rest. Rest, rest, rest. And then main riff. 4 times. A, G, 5, 6, 7, main riff. 4 times. A, G. Good. Now at the end of this one. Rest, rest, rest. Okay, second verse. Setting up the second verse. Now here, he does one of those slides before the verse. Now here we're gonna have these bends, this unison bend. You got 5th fret of the 2nd string, and you got your ring finger using this middle finger over here with it on the 3rd string, 7th fret. And you bend that up. You keep this one from bending. You don't want that to go up with you, of course. And so this one's going away from that, and they end up at the same note. That's what you want to get. You want to get that same note going. We're going to do 2 bends on that. Going back to the A string each time, so. Back to A to G. Do one of those slides before the E again. C, D, C, D. So here begins the new part. We're going to go 5, 6, 7, and wait, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, and wait, 2, 3. And then we're going to do them both together. Get into that unison thing. That's going to be 5th fret for your lower note, to 8th fret for your lower note, 8 and 10, and then 12th fret for your lower note, 12 and 14, and then 15th, and then this one's going to go like, and you're going to bend that one up higher, that 17th fret. So this is 15th and 17th. So you kind of go up, and then up and down. And you could either hit this one or you could be like, you kind of bend this one if you want, but I kind of hit that one like. And then I bend this one up and he kind of holds that and gets some shaky kind of extra notes from the guitar there. So let's look at that new spot where we had the 5, 6, 7, a pause, other 5, 6, 7, pause, and then we had the 5, 6, 7s in a row. So that's gonna be like, wait, wait, and then together. Right into the bend. 5, 8, 12, 15. And you're going to bend that 17th fret kind of way up there. And then he gets his solo going. Now the solo background, you could be playing that. There isn't really a guitar there, I don't believe. It's kind of like you just hear the bass mostly and you hear his solo. But if you wanted to play rhythm over that solo, it would be 24 times of that basic rhythm. Now what he's doing, I'm not going to do the whole solo. He kind of starts on this 5th fret, the G. So you got 5th, and then you got the 7th fret bending up. 7, bend to 5, 5 to this 8. And those fingers are important with these bends. Because when you're doing the bend, you know, you need that extra powerful, longer finger than a pinky. Like for me, that doesn't really work out too good. For some people, it does work out pretty good. But I got to use this finger, and Hendrix used that finger a lot. He was probably even doing that because he would misplace this one over here to use those more powerful fingers on the bends and stuff. So he kind of goes around his minor pentatonic in A there, kind of comes up, kind of gets into a 12 to 10, and he gets into kind of like you're bending that 15th fret. And you kind of get that other string kind of going with it. Then he pops up here into the octave of the A minor pentatonic. Kind of gets into a couple of those things. Then he gets really wangs out that 20th fret there. And the solo kind of ends with him doing these. You can use whatever fingers you want, but. So let's take a look at that new verse again. So we're going to have the A, G, 5, 6, 7. So we're going to do that 5 bend with the 7 here twice, but the third time, we're going to go up to this 8 and 5. So when you come down to these other strings, it's a further away thing than it was over here. So he kind of goes twice. And he kind of gets like I believe he gets like a kind of a pull-off thing on that. See how that works? So let's look at that verse again. Second half of the verse. Then down to the E. I did that a little too soon. Now, strangely enough, this time he does this lower 3 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Only 3 on that bigger set. Five. You're gonna have a slide. One, two, three, four. Rest. 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 And then we're gonna go in a row. Up to the 10. 10 and 12. So we got 5, 10, 5, 10, and then in a row. This time, we're gonna do the 5 3 times in a row, and then the 10. And then 3 times, these in a row. Then that same bend set got us into the solo. And then the ending is like 5th fret of the G string, 7th fret, and 5th fret of the D string. Give a little half step bend to that 5th fret of the A string. It sounds like he's hitting an A power chord to me, but even with maybe that E bass note with it, make it sound a little crazier and bigger. Okay, so let's go through all that stuff again. So at the beginning we got wait, then main riff, 4 times. First verse, A, G, main riff, no bends yet. Second part of verse, A to G. Now have a slide for a big E. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. Wait. Back to the riff. Now we'll have a slide before the verse. A, G, the bend. Second half verse. Bend again. But this time, slide. E to G. Wait. Wait, and then 2 in a row. The bend part starts. 5, 8, 12, 15. Then, like I say, here's his solo kind of thing. Not trying to do it exactly. Kind of paraphrasing there, you know. Next verse. It's a little different bends there. There's 5, but we have a slide. Remember that like 4, 3. 2, 3. Wait again. Wait again. Wait again. Then we got them in a row. 10. And on the 10. 5. 10. So let's look at that whole part where we have the 5, 6, 7 and those pauses towards the end of the song. Rest. Rest, same thing again. Rest. Rest, now we're in a row. We got our bend. Bend on the 10. 5. 10. Row. Then this one, 3 times. Then we go. 3 times in a row this. And then we got our bends like before the solo. 5 and 8 and 12. 15. And instead of doing the rest, we're going to go. Okay, so little wing intro is what we're doing here. So the first thing we're going to do, we have this E minor chord. This is going to be the ring finger on the bottom 3 12s. And then the middle finger on the big E string 12th fret. We're going to mute the A string and the D string. So we got a pick scratch going down. Everything is muted. And then we come up with the chord and slide it down. To the big E open. 2 pick scratches. So we have a 5 to 7 on the E string, to the 5 on the D string, and then 5 to 7 on the A string. So we got. So here we have a double note thing. We have both of the middle strings, the D string and the G string, 5th fret, hammering into the 7th fret of the D string. Keep that finger so tall. This is a big thing with Hendrix. keep that finger so tall that you hear the string underneath it. You didn't accidentally like mute that when you did that hammer on. You want to keep it so tall. He can make so many extra big sounding chords with that effect. So definitely know that when you're trying to do some Jimmy stuff. So one more time on the top. So that riff. We're going to go to that thumb on the 3rd fret of the big E string. So that was the big one, and then the G string open. Now we're going to mute these 3rd fret of this bottom 2 strings with the 1st finger. That way we can do a pull off there, 5 to 3 to 3. We got it all, the whole chord and shape that we need. Then one more quick G string. And this is that same type of effect where you keep those fingers so tall you can hear the string below it. So that's going from the 4 to the 5 on the G string. Hitting that again, the 5 and 3. And then a hammer on pull off type of thing. Then we're going to go to this A minor again. So a lot going on there. We got big string A. Then we got 5, 7 on the A string to the 5 and back to the 7. Now here we're on the 2nd and 3rd strings. And we're going to do that same thing I was talking about. Then we're going to do it on those 2 middle strings. So that last part was on the A string to that 5th fret of the D string, and then 5 and 7 on the big E string sliding down. Big E, and then so we're going to have a 10 to 8 on the 2nd string, pull off to the 7 on the G string, 3rd string. And then we're going to get into this. We're kind of in an E minor 7 shape. So he's got the 7 and 10 on the A string. And then he's hitting the middle 2 7s and doing one of those hammer things with the 9th fret on the D string. Now here's like a B minor 9 type of thing. So I'm hitting this big 7, and then I got this 9 and 7 parked in the middle of that from like a B minor chord. So it's either like both of those middle strings or just that 9 right there, the octave of that. So here we have B minor, and then we end up hitting the little 7 and 9 down here. So we got a little pull on this 9 to the 10 and out, and then to the 10 of the 2nd string. So it could be like 9 to 10 and back to that 9 and then the 10 on the 2nd string. Now here we switch to a B flat 6th fret to the 7 and 6 from a B flat type major chord. So we got so 2 basses and then that little chord piece to the A. So after we hit that A bass here, we're going to have 7 and 5 on those middle strings, D and G. Here we have to stretch this pinky up to the 9th fret and try to keep that so tall that we hear all those chords. We want to hear that 5 on the G string through all these chords. And then we come into this one, we got this 8 to 7, still want to hear that 5 on the D string. So they're going to have, so that was the 2 middle strings, 5, 7, and 5, then big string 5 to 7 again. Hit that thumb again on that 3 bass. The reason for that thumb there is because we got this high chord that's going to be 5 on the D string, then open, then 3, then 5. thing slides up too. Even that thumb can slide up. That's a real cool Jimi Hendrix-ism there. So you got the big 1 down here, and then you got muted A, then you got 3, 0, 1, 3. So let's check out the whole thing one more time. And that's the harmonics on the 12th fret of the 4 bottom strings. So. Okay, and sometimes they'll give the whammy bar downwards to do an effect on that. All right, Little Wing, thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. We'll check you soon.